When my husband and I first moved in together, he announced that he didn't want me to get him a birthday cake. Instead, he was going to bake one himself. And we're both big time into Harry Potter and chocolate cakes, which of course goes together. So we found this awesome Harry Potter cake, birthday cake recipe. And of course that was a chocolate cake, duh. I did warn Peter that I wasn't much of a baker, and the kitchen generally belonged to my older daughter, Tatiana, who is an amazing chef and a baker. But, you know, I said that I was going to be there for moral support. I also offered to misspell happy birthday on the cake and sit on the cake, you know, as Hagrid does in Harry Potter. But that's just about where my help would cease. Well, Peter said that, you know, he had his recipe, and he was really good at following instructions. And the only thing he would need from me is to just occasionally, you know, like direct him where things were in the kitchen. I was like, okay, well, you know, that's fine. So, even though I did tell him that, you know, Tatiana would be so much better and much bigger help in that way. But on the eve of Peter's birthday, Tatiana was absent from the house. She had some other engagements, so we were left on our own. Dun dun dun. Okay, so Peter got his recipe, you know, got the bowls and the other strange things like mixer and the blender, and I mean, you know, I prefer magic wand to all that, but I haven't yet mastered by that time the how to make the birthday cake with a magic wand. So, and I didn't want Peter's special cake to turn out like a toad or something just generally green and edible. So, you know, so he set everything up. I sat in the corner with my book, you know, moral support. I mean, at least I was there, right? So he's doing his thing, you know, reading the recipe, mixing things, measuring things, you know, occasionally asking me like, you know, where's this or that, you know, some mysterious ingredients, packets. And generally I'm able to say like, okay, yeah, I think that's there or here or whatever it is. So everything's going great. And then he gets to the important section of this process. It's the, you know, adding the flour for the cake. And so Tatiana had several big clear jars full of white powdered stuff. Yes, that's how I refer to flour. I mean, yeah, well, white powdery stuff. Anyway, so I knew at some point that one of the smaller jars, and I mean the jars are like, you know, like, so I knew that one of the smaller jars had powdered sugar in it. But I didn't know like the other ones. I mean, there was also, you know, white powdery stuff. So I didn't know like what kind of flour she had. So Peter picked up one of the jars and he said, you know, is this flour? And I said, oh, well, you know, judging by the size of the container and the consistency of the powdery stuff, must be flour, because he said, well, what's in the other ones? I said, I have no idea. I don't know what Tatiana has in her jars. But I'm like, you know, obviously you can tell the difference. I'm like, I know that the smaller one has powdered sugar, or at least had it at some point. I'm like, but you know, you can tell the difference, right? Peter said thank you as he was measuring out the flour, you know, putting it in the bowl, mixing it. So he mixed it all in, put some final ingredients in, poured the mixture into the cake form, preheated the oven. So finally, you know, he put it in the oven and set it for 25 minutes. And I commented on the fact that, you know, his cake is going to come out 40 minutes before his actual birthday, because we didn't realize how late it actually was. So, you know, we're sitting there waiting, you know, washing some dishes, because I am good at that. So 25 minutes, you know, timer goes off. Big, important moment. He pulls out the cake. Except the cake kind of splashes against the edges of the form. And it looks more like chocolate lava than the actually like solid cake. I said, wait a second, is it supposed to look like that? I mean, is it the right time? What is this? So we check and double check and triple check the time, the ingredients, everything. So I suggest to put it in for like 10 more minutes to let it solidify. Yeah, tells you how much I know about baking, right? So we put it in for 10 more minutes. Eventually it's midnight. I wish you a happy birthday, you know, we get the cake out. I look at it and then go like, what? I can't sit on that. I mean, it's liquid. Put it in for 5 more minutes. At that moment, our fairy godmother, also known as my older daughter, Tatiana, the mistress of the kitchen, comes in. And before she has time to fly upstairs to her room, we cry out for help. And she comes into the kitchen to observe the damage. And I say, so Peter's trying to bake his birthday cake, you know, like really fast at, you know, just dodging the responsibility. And I'm like, we looked at the recipe so many times and we can't figure out what we're missing. And we've been putting it in the oven like 3 times already. And it's been baking for triple the time that the recipe says. I'm like, can you please check can you figure out what we're doing wrong? So, and I'm like, okay, look, there's the recipe, right? Instead, she glances at the cake. And without looking at the recipe or anything else, she says, what container did you use? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you know, those containers that are sitting there. I'm like, well, you know, the one with flour. She's like, no, which one? I'm like, I don't know. The one that has flour in it. And then I'm like, looking at Peter, I'm like, okay, which one? He picks up one of them. He's like, I think I used this one. And Tatiana just goes like, it's powdered sugar without like, no emotion. She's like, you just made a whole bunch of hot chocolate. All right, let me tell you that the story ended well, like all good and kind fairy tales do. Our fairy baker sent us off to bed because she can't stand when there's other people in the kitchen messing up her magical work. And she poured this liquid cake down the drain. And then She baked a perfect Harry Potter chocolate cake from scratch in 40 minutes. And it was so perfect that in the end, I just didn't have the heart to sit on it.